Welcome to the Carrying the Torch from the Court to the Community webinar. I am Dr. Brett Ball, and you usually find me podcasting, filming, producing, even researching. But today I am returning to the huddle, home team huddle, with my two former and forever teammates, Markeshia Grant and Lakeisha Sutton, from the class of 2012 from the University of South Carolina women's basketball team. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Before we move any further, I have to say how proud and excited I am for this conversation in collaboration with Flame Bearers. And for those who don't know and are just new to the movement, Flame Bearers is a women's sports storytelling studio all about celebrating the resilience, leadership, inner fire of women athletes. It's about the women who carry the torch, not just when the stadium lights are bright and flashy and shining, but the women who do the work in the community for building community and equity for the future of women's sports. So you can find their current series, Making It to Milan, on Flame Bear's YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more at flamebears.com. And the Making It to Milan, if you haven't checked it out, please go check it out. Talking with some of the high and Olympic athletes that, again, content that you just don't want to miss. One thing I have to say, I teamed up with Flame Bearers for this webinar because we share this belief that a flame isn't something that you hold on to, that you just put light over for yourself or keep it to yourself. It's something that you share, something you pass on. And when me and my teammates were playing together, we were anchored in this belief of Staley standard. And part of that Staley standard is giving back, building community, giving back to the community that got you to where you are today. So today we'll be exploring how that flame translate into the fight for social change in and through sports, using sports to leverage social change in the community. So we're joined by Lakeisha Sutton, the fan favorite herself. As you can see, she's representing her gear right there. She's using her flame and her fire to empower inner city youth in Trenton, New Jersey. And Markeshia Grant, the visionary behind Savvy Skills, who's teaching the next generation how to turn in their sports skills to life skills. And if everyone who's listening, you know how important that is to be able to do what you do on the court, have it actually applied to real life. So I'm excited to dive in, to get started, and talk about how we can push towards a more equitable future for the future of sports. So Lakeisha, Markeshia, the Keishas. Only if we had Isha Walker here, we would have the big three, which we used to call in our holding down our backcourt. But I want to get started by saying, first of all, how are you doing? We haven't seen each other, honestly, since what we were talking about before, like last summer.
Yes. Thank you so much, Brett. Like that introduction was amazing and powerful, just like you are. We wouldn't be probably who we are today without you. I think you propelled us to like look beyond the game, just by your story. So thank you for having us here today, and we appreciate you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll say similar to Markesha. And hello everybody. Just want to say thank you first, Dr. Brett Ball. Because obviously we were seniors your freshman year, but just seeing your positivity and your determination and your kindness and your light despite of all the adversity that you went through, it definitely changed my faith and my outlook on life. So I text you privately, but I'm gonna tell you publicly, thank you for changing my life too.
Thank you. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. Wow, y'all getting me started emotionally already. Was not prepared for you. All righty. With that being said, I really wanted to dive into because of, again, our relationship and us being under Coach Daly's standard. We know y'all know she had the same standard for the players if you were at the end of the bench playing or you were starting five. Before we got to the court, Markesha, I'll start with you. You talked about on your visit to Carolina that you and Coach Daly didn't even talk about basketball. You talked about life. How did that mentorship translate into how you mentor young kids today?
Yeah, I know both of you can speak to this. Coach Daly is a people first person. And so I think you have to be able to build relationships with people because you just never know what impact they can make on your life. And look at us right now. We're talking about how the impact of Coach Daly and the culture has had on our life, but also we've stayed connected for 14 years, 15 years of playing basketball, and just being around each other, and we can still talk to each other and we still know the same language, like it was the first day we walked on campus. But just understanding that, being a people first person, but also the culture that we built at South Carolina, and instilling that in the youth today, understanding that everything is about legacy, what legacy you're going to leave, and the impact you're going to make. So I always talk to kids or, the youth about how you can leave your legacy.
No, we appreciate that. As you said, wow, 15 years, a legacy is something that not something that comes and goes. And we have really been friends. We have been knowing each other literally almost for 15 years. That's crazy. I didn't think about that until you really, really put it into context. Keisha, you had something similar where you said Coach Staley's leadership impacted your life, where you were overlooked by certain colleges. This is Coach Staley's early time coming at South Carolina. Like, so that wasn't any banners hanging at that time. How did she get you to come from Trenton? How did she get you to come to USC or South Carolina?
Oh man, it's a loaded question, but I'll keep it short. She came to see my teammate, and so what I try to tell people, especially young athletes, is you never know who's watching you for the first time. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So, Coach Staley had scholarships early on. I was just walking into the gym. We walked in together, actually. And I was already signed to go to a different school, but, she was like, "I really like your game. Like, I'm trying to build something at South Carolina." And just that blind faith, like Markeshia said, it wasn't about basketball, it's about life. And I seen someone that I can relate to. Growing up in the projects in Trenton, New Jersey, she was from the projects of Philly. So I,
Mm,
I just had blind faith, and I went with her, and we've been rolling ever since. But
yeah.
as far as her leadership style, I think just watching how, number one, she interacted with her staff, like very polite, very respectful. Different cultures, right? Sometimes it's just the boss is just dictating to everyone, and then there's
Mm.
other bosses like Coach Staley who leads, and everyone's voices matter. So I pay attention to how she treated her staff. Obviously how she treated us as players. Whether we won the game or we lost games, her approach was the same each and every day for 4 years. Just in the community, she was giving back way back. And I remember we went to the grandmother's event where she was giving out clothes and manicures and pedicures for grandmothers in Colombia, and just watching, from a distance, like, dang, I want to be able to do things like that as well. But like Markeisha says, she made people feel seen, heard, and valued. So I try to do the same.
Oh, seen, heard, and valued. I like that. Seen, heard, and valued. I had to stick with that. Okay, hashtag.
Mhm.
Okay, hashtag Staley.
Hashtag daily standard. Yeah.
Daily standard. Yeah, I like that. Um, Markeisha, you said basketball was your saving grace coming up from Tampa, Florida, growing up in Tampa, Florida. Through Savvy Skills, you were teaching adaptability. How can you, how do we help young girls understand the flame developed in the gym is actually a life flame that works in the boardroom too? But I actually want to go back to that before we go into that. You said it was saving you from something. What was it saving you from?
Yeah, so many young athletes, I grew up in a single parent home, and so I felt like I needed to be a part of something bigger than myself. And I think basketball was that catalyst to propel me to whatever was coming, was whatever was my purpose. And so I feel like basketball was my saving grace. It has been the navigation for everything that I've been successful in. And so I always just look back to the time that I made the decision to go to South Carolina because I don't know where my life would be. And then, of course, I met you guys, and you guys are still a part of my life. So just basketball being the catalyst, but also meeting the people that you do along the way, being around Coach Staley and just the experiences that she presents in itself. I think we just learn so much, and that is very much transferable to life. And I think once you experience it, what it's like to play basketball at a high level, you always look for that same flame in anything else you do when you leave the game. And I think for us, I'm sure we can speak about this, is that the work that we do, we find that flame every day. So I think basketball started it, and then our professional lives is carrying it.
You know, I love that how you said it's once you have a taste of it, it's like you don't even know anything outside of that standard. You almost can't comprehend or even accept. Even now, sometimes when I watch bad basketball, I'm just like, excuse me. My mom's a coach. My mom's a coach, and she would turn a game off if, like, you know, if it's just not good quality, just, fundamental basketball. So with that being said, with the young people that you work with, how do you remind them of the standard? How do you get them to give a taste of the standard? I remember your event last August, actually, if you can talk about that, but how do you get to give them a taste of the standard?
Yeah, I just think I always just say, know what your gifts are, right? I think we were brought together because of our gifts, right? Brett, you didn't know that your freshman year would go like that, but it propelled us to take Coach Daly to her first Sweet 16, right? And we beat Tennessee at Tennessee. It was just so many historical moments we had, but it was because we were inspired by something that happened to our teammate, right? And so that was just like the catalyst. Again, it's always about something that's being a catalyst for something that you're experiencing. And so I always explain to youth, like, find something that's gonna fuel you. Every experience has a story, everything has a catalyst, everything can fuel you. And so I think for me, fueling me was that, I grew up in a single parent home. And so I didn't want my mom to pay for college. I didn't want her to have to worry about anything. And so I think that was the thing for me.
Yeah. No, I love it. Actually, Jamie actually read my mind. Wow. She put in the chat, find something that fuels you. Like the fuel and the flame. I'm just seeing this thing because it's so important. Nowadays, kids, young people, we see things on social media and it's fleeting. It's, oh, I just want to be this, but finding something deep within you that gives you that drive. And I have to provide context for those who don't know what Markeshia and Lakeisha is referring to. Not to make this about me, but to put how this relationship like really goes back 15 years. My freshman year, when I was diagnosed with a heart condition, I think no, it was definitely it was October 1st. I remember a coach coming to the locker room, basically telling everyone that I couldn't play, and the next day, maybe the following week, we had an exhibition game. I don't know, y'all must have like co-inspired or something with CJ or to get access to the uniforms
Oh,
because
with the hearts on them?
yes,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
first
still have
game, it
That
was
was
mine.
just so that was
heart
so
with a number
sentimental.
2. So, I just, like, this, yeah, just that that moment, like you said, y'all were able to shift into, something greater, that honestly, like, really changed my life because it was something deeper, and most times you go to school as a freshman, innocent freshmen, we don't know any better, is usually a bully by the senior class, having hazing or having them doing something crazy, just to pay, pay your time or whatever, but y'all were different. And I think that's like what Keisha mentioned before about and Coach Staley is not a dictator. She is, she's a people's person. She does believe, going through your own process, but not in a way that, hey, just because you're seniors, that's not a permission to like bully the younger people. Like you need to be an example of someone they want to become. So thank you for sharing that. Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna give it back to y'all. I'm just done.
No, that's important too. No, it,
Yeah.
it really isn't. Your story is like it was transformational for our team, right? Because I feel like obviously when you go to college, it's just harder. It's the
Yeah.
physicality, the speed, the expectation, the workouts, the standard. And so whether it was a hard track workout or a weightlifting session, the 3-hour practices where we had to do the same drill over and over,
Yeah.
just looking at you on the sideline, we were just like, who are we to complain about anything? Like she physically cannot be out here. So I think that brought us closer together, but it also inspired us to like change our perspective of not so much like, why do we have to do this? But like, wow, like thank you God, like we really get to do this. And we're doing it for her because she can't physically play right now. So yeah, in every uniform we would just beat our heart on in
Yeah.
front of our uniform. Like, it's bigger than basketball, like Markeisha said.
Yeah. I love that. Do
Also,
you look?
I,
Oh, go
I
ahead. Go
feel
spit.
like I feel like you found your voice at a young age though. You were 18 and that happened to you. And we were 21, 22 seniors. And so yeah, sometimes we be like, Brett, please. Like,
Sometimes,
like
all the
girl.
time.
Yeah, like Brett girl, whatever. But it's like but it was like we go on the court. Did you hear what Brett said?
Yeah.
Like it was those times. Like, so I think, you were very impactful for us that season.
No, I appreciate it. Y'all just like dropping gems to things that all the years of experience, like what you said, Keisha said, hey, we didn't look at something, hey, we can't, oh man, I don't want to do it, but we versus, hey, we get to do this. And I think sometimes we can get so complacent in what we do. We look at, hey, it's actually a privilege to do what we do. We actually, it's a privilege that we get to lead and give back to our communities the way that you are doing. Keisha, I want to direct this question to you. And of course, you chime in, Markeshia, but you were told that you were too short, too slow. I mean, you're all kind of about the same height. So,
I
you
didn't
said,
pass the look test in New Jersey.
you don't.
I did.
But you said you termed it you were too short. But Coach Staley saw your potential. You eventually turned that into a global brand as as a Harlem Globetrotter and CEO of Fan Favorite. How did a kid from Trenton protect their flame in a world that is constantly trying to blow it out? So from too short to 4-year college to even playing professional overseas. So Harlem Globetrotter, like how did you just keep going? How did you keep leveling up?
Um, that was a great, like, I've done 1,000 interviews, but this one was like the most meaningful because we were really in the trenches together. So I want to make sure I articulate this in a correct way. Um, Growing up in Trenton, New Jersey, right? A lot of people from my community they didn't get to go to college, let alone outside of this small city that we live in. And I feel like for me, the way I overcame people trying to blow up my flame was just that internal flame. Like I
Mhm.
knew early on what my gift was, and I had coaches around me that nurtured it, and they put me in every position possible to keep practicing it and also show it. But just that internal belief, and I've always lived my life like you teach by being. So I wanted to be someone that, yeah, they think I'm too short, they think I'm too slow, but like I'm competing with the taller girls that have more athleticism or more exposure or more opportunities. And so I just kind of took that personal when I got to South Carolina and I seen Coach Daly and Markeshia and you and even Isha, my teammates. I'm like, I'm the same size as them. It's just that I grew up in a city full of poverty, so no one knew who I was. We didn't have grassroots AAU programs or gym access or someone like Markeshia who's giving back and teaching us how to just think, dream, become. And so I wanted to not only create that path for myself and for my family, but for all the other kids coming after me that just needed that opportunity.
Mm,
Yeah, I can add to Keisha. I would say fan favorite started at South Carolina.
I did.
She was a fan favorite. Like, I mean, we knew it. Like, it was no like, we know who everybody call her Lakeisha, but we call her fan favorite.
Yeah.
So she was a brand. She was a brand before brands
That is true. I agree.
were like accepted, right? If
Mm.
Keisha was playing right now, she would have major
NIL,
NIL.
NIL.
NIL. She was fan favorite when we started. Um, but I just think we all just had the common fuel coming to South Carolina. Like I think we knew who Coach Daly was, but we really didn't know until we got there and played for her and it was like, yo, this lady is different. Like, you
This
know what I'm
is
saying?
Dawn
Like
Staley. Like, yeah.
this is Dawn Staley from Philly. Like it's different. But she was very intentional about recruiting players who
Mm,
like were an imitation of who she is, right? Uh, if it was a Don Staley Award when we played, we would have got it, right?
yeah.
uh, but yeah, it was like me, Keisha, Isha were variations of who Coach Staley was, as a player.
Mm,
And so I just think, that is just how she recruits. She recruits players that are like a reflection of her. And so I think that's the common thing that we had is that we had the same fuel. Like we were self-starters. We didn't need anybody to tell us to go work hard or play hard. Like we wanted to play hard because our coach was Don Staley.
yeah.
Yeah, we also I think it's important to add like to what you just said. We were reflections of Coach Daly, but like competitive, right?
Mhm,
Fearless,
Mhm.
intelligent,
Mhm.
selfless,
Mhm.
leaders. 'Cause I feel like, especially with athletes, everyone's like, I like basketball, I played basketball, but it's like that's cool. But what's gonna separate you? And I
mhm,
feel like Marquisha just said, we were the underdog, Coach Davey first couple years. And so for me, it was just like, all right, coach, like we got you. Like we're not gonna let you fail. Like, because we knew, what it meant to her, to our program, to the city of Columbia at the time, even though it wasn't popular to even, root for South Carolina.
Yeah.
But I just remember like when games were hard, I look at, my teammates, I'm looking at Coach Daly, like I'm looking at Coach Cray, Coach Boyer. I'm like,
Mm.
I'm not losing this game, not for them. Like, so it was like it was different. Like we had more pride, I feel like.
Mm.
Now I think people are just doing it for themselves, and I think those are the kids that end up in the transfer portal or just always unhappy because it's always about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love it. I love how you say a sense of pride, a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, and like you said, we kind of losing a little bit nowadays. Markeshia makes me think about your recent interaction with your team building and building that camaraderie and building that relationships among teams. 'Cause we had the team building as well when we
Yeah.
was there is my first yeah we had it. Well, I know we had it the year that my freshman year, also, senior year. And you recently went back to Coach Daly's 2020, the recent championship team, to work on their team chemistry and focus on the theme of love. Um, how important is that in building team bonding? Like, what do you look for when you are working with teams and trying to build that team chemistry to become a championship team?
I mean, it's just a reflection of what we learned when we played, right? We had a
Mhm.
theme every year,
We
right?
did, yeah, that's
We
true.
had a theme every single year, and we bought into that theme, right?
Mm.
And then our famous "We all we got, we all we need," created by fan favorite.
Favorite, yeah.
Uh,
Can you say that again for the people in the back that don't know?
That
we
is
all
true. Yes.
No, I was
we
kidding.
all we got, we all we
We all we
need.
need.
Created by fan favorite. Um, that was our that was our lock-in moments, right? We knew, like we said, that we knew what we were gonna do. And so all I did was take the values and the lessons that I learned for playing for Coach Staley and the culture that we built, um, and put it into a curriculum. Uh,
Mm.
I taught the teams about, hey, it's important to have a theme because that is something that you can attach your season to, right? And so specific to this 2024 team that went undefeated, they started the season in Paris, which is the city of love, right? The theme was love, and then they ended up in Cleveland and playing, Iowa for the championship. Uh, and so the thing was to try to keep them focused on what the end goal was. But I think Coach Staley was intentional about bringing me back because, again, go back to how we were and our culture. It's almost like I understand the mechanics. I understand what it takes to win. And so I think she brought me back just to pour into them what we learned. And so, Coach Staley is always strategic in what she does. And so
Very.
I think I'm not gonna say I'm the reason why they won, but but
A little savvy skills
but
magic.
but but when I was doing these sessions, I had our senior season in mind. I
Mm.
had That was the year that changed the trajectory of the program. And so I had that in mind when I went back to do the team building with them.
Yeah. FYI, for those who's listening, Markeshia is extremely skilled doing team building work. So if you're looking for someone to do that, she got you. She's all you got and she's all you need.
Ooh, ooh,
That's a good one.
that's good.
That was actually really good.
That was good.
Keisha, I want to uh, go back to you, particularly as we talk about coming up to, in Trenton with the violence that you have witnessed and experienced in your community. Um, w- what impact does or how can sports be used as a literal lifeline in the community to keep the flame from flickering out, and not only just from a theoretical standpoint? Can you talk practically speaking, because it's easy to host panels and it's easy to have conversations, but practically speaking, can you talk about your facilities and the things that you've done, boots on the ground, grassroots in Trenton? Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I love the article so much because she's like that I believe in me. It's just something that I lived. It's not something that it's not like a buzzword for me. It's not something I read in a book. It's just my real experience. But starting back to, playing for Coach Daly at South Carolina, being an underdog, and it's like no one thinks we can win these games but us. So just having that self-belief, importance to other people. I felt like, growing up, um, a lot of kids, they don't have access to sports, number one. So it's just like, how can I dream of becoming more, doing more if I don't have access to the facility? If I don't have access to coaches, or if I do have access, but now it's not affordable. Like there's just so many barriers that will eliminate a child's chance to even do something different in their life. And so I remember when I was still playing, every time I would come back home, there was no gym to go to. So I couldn't really work out. And I was traveling so far to work out. So when I opened my facility called the Fan Favorite Club, I wanted to be really intentional about making it, number one, affordable, but also like available, right? So it's open 24/7 essentially. And we teach basketball year round, but kids can also learn how to do marketing. So everyone loves their cell phone. So it's like we're teaching them how to make graphics and make videos and write stories and press releases. And we're also teaching them like, okay, you don't like basketball, that's cool. If you like to draw and do art, how about we take your art and transfer it onto merchandise? So that's the marketing and the entrepreneurship side of the brand. Um, okay, I'm not into art. You like math? I got it. Let's talk about finance. I'm gonna teach you about budgeting and just trying to expose kids to life skills through basketball. Um, Fan favorite club stands for creating leaders who understand business. And like you guys know, the sport will only last for so long, but the skills that you learn within it, communication, teamwork, sense of urgency, sacrifice, communication skills, I think that's transferable whether you're an athlete or not. So just I think it's like my version of Hogwarts, to be honest.
Mm. How
Like it's just a place that families love to come to, and they don't ever want to leave. So we just like, all right, lock the door, bye. I'm leaving. Yeah, try to make it safe for them, safe space.
Yeah, for sure. For those who don't know, Keisha is a journalism major, so the communication and the marketing skills makes a lot of sense. As soon as you said that, I was like, okay, you're definitely applying that degree. I love to see it, but it's also even more, um, it's also even more relevant now in the digital age that the kids are coming up in. We're like people are getting recruited from the highlight reel, and is actually a really good thing. It creates for exposure, and being able to be digital creators and get into the or be a part of the content creator economy that's merging. So I do have a question for both of you all as we have Q&A.
I want to
Oh,
add to what Keisha was saying or the conversation. I think we were ahead of our time because of who we played for. Um,
mm,
and what I mean by that,
Mm.
like,
I agree.
I'm doing team building, I'm doing all of these things. And then Keisha has her fan favorite club. She's a coach. I mean, Dr. Ball, you're doing research, you're doing your podcast. I just feel like we were ahead of our time in understanding what skills we needed to be transferable, right?
Mm,
We maybe didn't know what to name them back then, but I think because of the culture we were cultivating and the coach we played for, we transitioned from sport to life easier. I think were prepared for that transition.
I
Hey, Coach Daly, a boss.
I
You boss.
agree
Or we.
100%. No,
Yeah.
I agree 100%. The transition, I mean, I'm sure if, we had other, teammates in here, everyone has their own transition experience or journey, but I I I think I can't even disagree. I agree 100%. Um I want to add one question before we start accepting Q&A. You all work with a lot of young people, which involve parents. How do you communicate? Uh, how do you balance being realistic with parents, but also, you know, educating them on what their the potential of their young their youth can be, because that can be, I can imagine, like you have a standard, but sometimes we're working in inner city, or we're working with youth or in areas, in rural areas, where sometimes the parents may not be aware at either. I'm from Mississippi, a small town, and so sometimes a proud Mississippian, by the way, and I know a lot of people, like, eyebrows go up, be like, "You're from Mississippi?" "Yes, I am."
Mississippi. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, but a lot of rural areas, and something area, that I want to be able to give back. But sometimes again, working with minors, you have to work with parents. How have you all balanced being able to educate parents on the future or the potential? Again, and I'm just including now, broadly speaking, the NIL deals, even the recent, verbal negotiations with the CBA, the potential that their youth could go and to have. How do you balance having that conversation with parents, giving them vision, but also being realistic?
You can go first, Markeshia.
Go ahead, fan favorite.
Oh, I mean, I think it's simple. For me, I just lead by like honesty, right? I pride myself on having hard conversations and being transparent. So it's like, hey, this is a business at the end of the day. So we can want it to get a scholarship, but like, have you done everything possible to put yourself in the best position to earn the scholarship? And it's just also just understanding like performance is a real thing. Your visibility is a real thing. Because it's not only is it not easy to get this scholarship, but now you have to keep this scholarship because the job of a coach is to recruit every single year. And I think that parents they kind of can get it confused, like, oh, my kid was so great when they were 10 or 9, but it's like as you get older, it gets harder. But if you have the life skills, I think of, discipline, work ethic, just communication, academics, everything's all aligned, it gets easier for you because you'll have more options.
Mhm.
And so I just like to just say, like, what are your goals? Okay. And then like show me what does your everyday look like. Cause I'll tell you right away if you're gonna get close or not. So I don't know. I think I don't know. Some parents like me, some parents struggle because I'm just very honest. Like I don't have I can't baby you into it. I'm gonna just say like it's possible. Like I come from Trenton, New Jersey, so anything is possible, but you have to really work at it. No one's gonna give it to you. It's not like I can make a phone call. And actually, I did make a phone call to Markeshia about 5 years ago for one of my kids from Trenton. Got to get this kid in school. She made a phone call. She had a scholarship the next day. So again, it's the relationship piece, but it's
Wow.
also like
Wow, can you say
I
it again? That is the like,
no,
can
it's
you
no. This is a
repeat that?
true
That was
story. That's the relationship piece.
Keisha, I
I had a
forgot about
kid.
that.
I didn't. I did not forget about that. I had a kid who was in a situation, and she was like, "I don't like my coach." Parents love to blame the coach when their kid doesn't really love basketball,
Mm.
overcome adversity, but whatever. So I had a kid, and so she changed schools. Called a couple schools. They were like, "Yes, we love her." She was averaging about 30 points, but the competition was bad.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, produce like this school said no, this school said no. So we got to get you somewhere where you're playing against better competition. Call Markeshia. Markeshia knows everybody. She's been traveling the world since she graduated.
That's just so.
Um, and she just made a phone call, but because we trust each other, like her reputation's on the line, my reputation on the line, and thankfully this kid was prepared when she got there. So she went NAIA, and then she ended up going D1 afterwards and was All American. So it's the relationship piece, but it's like I can't work for you if you're not doing the work yourself. So I
For
try to
me,
lead with honesty.
okay, yeah. I'm much like Keisha. I lead with honesty, but also give like the logical like background. Like, hey, are you asking these coaches when their contracts are up? Because you have situations where coaches get fired at the end of every season, right? So you may not go and play for the same coach that you signed with that school. So I always tell parents to ask those questions, ask the hard questions because they're gonna ask you the hard questions, right? And again, it is a business, right? So please be realistic in what type of money that you're asking for from these schools.
Mm.
Please, right? You might go to a school that's going to give you $200,000 or $300,000, but that's not realistic for the professional world once you transition out of college. Um, and so I think sometimes we have to be transparent and like not attaching your worth to money, but just being realistic about the landscape of basketball and the evolution and where we're headed. So I'm always honest about that. And then the other piece is get out of your kids' way, right? Sometimes you got to get out of their way in order them to feel their way through life, right? We have people who will try to make all the decisions for their kids because there's money involved. But sometimes kids have to figure it out.
Mhm.
Let them figure it out. I think I don't want to speak for y'all, but I feel like our parents let us figure it out.
We had to.
We had to. It was
We
legit.
did.
We had to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom was a coach, and she was just like she was gonna agree with whatever the coaches said. Oh, she needs to run. Yeah, she does.
I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this conversation. For Sweet 16, your aunt Ruthie came to dinner, and I'm gonna just be honest. Like in college, my goal wasn't the WNBA because I didn't even think it was attainable. Like no one really spoke to me about it until it was like too late almost. But Markeshia, you knew everything, like you know now. And I remember sitting in the conversation, and your aunt said, for you to get attention from the scouts, you guys have to win in the tournament. Like just get closer and closer. And and the point I'm trying to make is sometimes a parent can try to do every single thing to make sure their kid don't fail and they feel comfortable and they're happy, but that's not life.
Yeah.
Like it's just not life. And so I think because our parents wasn't hovering over Coach Daly or coaches or us every single day, they just kind of sat back and just enjoyed the process. And we were better for it because we learned how to advocate for ourselves. And we learned how to have hard conversations because we was forced to have them. Um, like sure, I remember the Tennessee game vividly. Markeshia was on fire. Like she couldn't miss. She couldn't miss. So
Year.
like as a teammate, I'm not looking at Markeshia like she just hit too. I'm like, nah, go shoot again, go again, go again, go again. But then like, and at the end of that game, which I think was our most pivotal game for the trajectory change, they forgot about me. I hit a mid-range pull up, got to the free throw line, sealed the game. But it's just like it's okay for parents to let their kids be uncomfortable. It's okay to be on a team with someone that's just sometimes they're just better than you at a certain thing. Like I wasn't trying to be Markeshia, she wasn't trying to be me, I wasn't trying to be Isha, but everything that we did individually made the collective crazy. Like teams didn't know who to take away. So I think that we just have to be okay with just being in the room. Just get in the room. That's it.
I love that. I mean, this is again great gems for those who are watching who may be parents yourselves or coaching um, uh, youth or young adults. How to be able to because sometimes you are that parental role for youth. It makes me think about my aunt told me to when I was being recruited. She said, "Where do you want to be on your worst day?" Because recruitment will fade out. But what do you want to do when it's where do you want to be when it's hard? So thank you all so much for sharing that. I really, really appreciate dropping those gems. I could talk about this all day, but I need to be mindful of the time. And I want to jump into some Q&A. I'm here. I see in the chat. I see. Okay, so this is from Katie. She said, if you could rewind the time and change one thing about your Gamecock experience, what would it be and why?
Katie.
Come on, Katie. Girl. Ooh.
Don't y'all both go at the same time?
I know. Ugh. I think I think it happened as it should have for me. What would I change? Mm, I give them all. We get it every day.
It took all out of you too, right?
She's depleted.
Maybe be more intentional about like being involved off campus. Like, I mean, off the out of basketball. Like, yeah, we had relationships with like other sports teams, but we were basketball in school and in the dorm.
And that's it. Yeah.
That's it. Like, maybe it just like having a college experience.
Hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
I would agree. I feel like naturally I'm very like introverted, like a homebody, so I'm okay with the dorms and the basketball class. But I feel like I would have been more intentional about like doing extra work because again, right? Like when you don't know what you don't know, you're just doing what everyone else is doing. But I also suffered some injuries that kind of took a lot out of me mentally. So I wish that I would have had the know-how to just like, I know I'm sore, I know this hurts, but let me get a little bit extra work in. But it was just so draining. I was ready to go. I'm like, I'm going to sleep. I cannot, I can't. But I think I would have been more intentional about just, asking for help.
For help, yeah. No, I appreciate I love that. You're right. You're draining, but at the same time, if you don't know what's next, that can be a little bit difficult too. We have another question coming in from Damien. He said, when you have a kid that has the potential and the ability, but the parents don't have the buy-in, how do you navigate that? Oh yeah, you just kind of a little bit touched on that. Yeah, having the buy-in.
I'm looking at Markeshia because she just went
Yeah,
like this.
I'm trying to like buy in terms of like them playing the sport.
Oh, maybe just I think it's just said buy-in in terms of, yeah, maybe playing the sport or buy-in into what it is that they're pushing them to do. You could be playing the sport or doing whatever the parents or the youth that they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to be realistic about what the potential is, um, and just be honest. Like sometimes it might take 10 conversations. It might, especially if the kid has a lot of potential, and then hopefully you can get the buy-in to those parents, or bring in reinforcement from somebody or webinars or workshops, so that they can see the end result and what it looks like of the buy-in.
Okay.
It,
Love that.
I would say if this is a coach that's asking a question, to just keep pouring into the young lady or the athlete because I do know that parents will do anything to see their kids happy, to see them um, self-motivated. And so I think when the kids start seeing results, the conversation may change at home and then parents actually fall in line. But if the kid has potential and the skill set, just keep pouring into her. At least that's what my coach did for me. He had no idea what he was doing back then, but it worked out. So yeah, it worked out.
No, I love it. I know we can have an entire webinar about, parents and relationships and mentors. I have another question from Greg. He says, what was the moment or moments that you realized you could play at a high level in incorporating working hard and working harder on and off the court?
Mm,
That's a
that's a
good
good
question.
question.
And this was actually for all of us. Okay, go ahead.
So it's interesting because I played like travel ball, but I didn't play on the top team.
Mm,
I went to junior college. I got better at junior college. Um, I won state championships in high school. I knew I was good at basketball, but I didn't know like to the extent, right? And I think I knew when I got a call from Coach Boyer, and they were like, "We want you to come on a visit." And then, the other schools that I had was Texas and Miami. So I was like, okay, maybe I am a little, maybe I'm a little good. Like, maybe I can play a little bit. Uh, but you really don't know until you actually step on that court. And you guys know the story. I came from junior college and came to South Carolina my junior year. Didn't start out the gate, but went to point guard college and got better, right? And then my senior year,
Partner college,
we
I
s-
remember.
we started together. And so I think it was like one of those moments like, okay, I could play at this level, but then when we started beating people that were all Americans, we playing All Americans, we playing McDonald's All Americans, we playing AP All Americans, we playing SEC All Americans, first team players, and we were none of that. So I
Mhm.
think when we started beating those type of teams, I was like, okay, like, yeah, we probably kind of good. We kind of good.
Maybe you see, well, maybe it makes some shake.
Right.
Keisha, what about you?
I feel like honestly, you guys won't believe this, but in high school, I really was just playing because I love to play. Like again, I didn't have anybody in my family go to college, let alone for sports, so it was just all new to me. But I think my freshman year, when I was named unanimous, I was like the only unanimous All SEC pick. I'm looking around like, but I mean, Pat Summit chose me, like Andy Landers, like all these people that were at the top of their game when Coach Daly was first coming to SEC. But more importantly, like Markeshia said, being 17, guarding Maya Moore in her prime. I'm like, Coach, you want me to guard her? Like, I didn't play defense in high school, but again, like the things that she taught us in practice and just that belief and the preparation, I was like, oh, I got this. And so I remember for 4 years, I would be almost like offended if I wasn't guarding other team's best perimeter players. So that's when I knew I could do this.
Yeah.
So like
The
when
original
everyone
seatbelt game. Look,
Yeah, the
the
seatbelt.
original seatbelt game
crazy.
right there.
Lock it
Like,
up.
No, seriously, because like I didn't have as nice of a jump shot as Marquisha or all the things, but I lock in on defense. I was like, okay, I'm going to be whoever is their best player. I'm going to make her so uncomfortable for the entire game,
Yeah.
like from start to finish. And so I think that's when I knew that I could play at the high level. But again, I just wish that I had more guidance or resources or mentorship to say, hey, if you just do this, you could take it to a different level. But
Hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I guess I have to answer that question too. This is to all of you. Um, so I guess my experience was a little different because I remember, and I know this sounds like cliche. I knew I was could play when I was 3. You know, parents all do that. A central Olympic, I was 3. But truth be told, I was like 4 years old when my aunt was playing for the the USA basketball, playing for the Olympics in 1996, and I remember, like I said, yeah, it's just a 4-year-old, like, sometimes your memories just fade, but I knew at that moment, when I saw them win a gold medal, I said I wanted to be an Olympian. Like, I just knew that, hey, like y'all said the standard before, like, hey, I just want a piece of that. Like, whatever that is, I can figure out the details of that, but I want to have that. And so, like I said, grew up in a basketball family, had 2 aunts who played professional. So for me, I knew early on that time out, what?
Hey, can you please say their name because they carried the flame to us? Like
right.
You know
we're
what?
not gonna we're not gonna just skip through who your
And
aunts are.
then talk about the connection of how Coach Staley played with them. Oh,
Hey,
talk about it.
You know, okay, you know, I have to
like
provide
it's
okay, I have to
it's
provide
it's
context.
still Women's History Month, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, it is in line. So Jamie, if this is okay for to talk a little bit about this, I am gonna get back to the questions, but to provide you all context, yes, my aunts are Mayola and Ruthie Bolton, 2 Auburn standouts at Auburn University. Both played professionally overseas and in the WNBA. My aunt Ruthie played for the Sacramento Monarchs for a number of years as a 2-time Olympic gold medalist and really lit the flame for me at an early age to give me a vision about give me basketball. I always say basketball was God given to me because I didn't come out the womb saying ball. I was just born into a family that had born into a family that was I was blessed to have basketball, high level, high standard basketball introduced me at an early age. So it was like no excuse for me to not know how to do the 3-man weave. Like our family used to have camps. And I come from a big family too, have over 100 cousins, 19 aunts and uncles. So we had camps within our own family. So it was like I had no reason basically not to be fundamentally sound, which is very, very important. So I was extremely blessed. And that's something that I want to uh, kind of as a foundation to me giving back to Mississippi and rural areas because I know that not everyone is blessed to have that type of incubation of high standard, high level basketball and experience. So yeah, speaking of flame barriers, my aunts definitely. So if you're listening on, I think both of them may be overseas now. Or anyway, if you're on, please let us know that you're here. Um, I'm going to wrap up with one question from Simone B. She said, what is a piece of advice that someone imparted to you that has remained with you throughout your life and could be beneficial to young to a young athlete today?
Hmm. Well, since we've been talking about South Carolina and Don, I will say one quote that she always says.
We can start with A.
Uh,
I just a D. Let's do a D.
the disciplined person can do anything.
Yeah.
The disciplined person can do anything.
Yeah.
Mm. Brett, what's yours?
Keisha, you have to go first. It's for
Um, I'm torn, honestly, between Coach Daly's quote, because that is like her life motto, and Coach McCrae's, "You never get a second chance to make a first impression." With the chair. I think it's I think it's the second one.
Mhm.
Because sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. So I'm not going to do it. But when these opportunities come, whether it's getting in the game for the first time or coming off that bench or, making this team, like you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So you just got to go out there with pure confidence and belief
Mm.
and get it done. So that for me, that's mine. That's
Okay.
mine.
I like
Yep.
that. I like that. I would have to say for me, and this actually came later in my life, but I think it contextualized what I had experienced before and the type of person I wanted to become. And I have to shout out to my brother because he told me this, Dr. Damian B. Bolton. He said, you should strive to be four things in life: a giver, a listener, a finisher, and a survivor. If you're gonna be a listener, obviously be able to listen and to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Be a giver, generous with your time, money, or whatever resource that you have an abundance of. Finisher. Don't start anything you can't finish, and that's something my mom imparted on us, is being able to, not even letting us quit. Anything that we started, whether we liked it or not, you gotta finish it. And then being a survivor. Sometimes you're just gonna have to just lock in, you gotta suck it up, and you just have to get through it. You may not like it, but you just gonna have to survive it, and you can look back and say, "Hey, I will never do that again," or you can look back and say, "I may do that again, but I'm glad that is over." And so that is for in this season in my life. That's a piece of advice that kind of just stuck through. So but wow, man, is there anything that I just so much more I wanted to cover, but I know we want to be mindful of time. Thanks those who join in for us today. Keisha, Markeshia, is there anything else that you all want to add, want to to impart on our audience today?
Yeah, feed your passion, it'll lead you to your purpose.
Like, oh my gosh, this is
That's just how you used to be in the dorms. Just so full of advice all the time. Like, Markeisha, you not tired? We just got killed in practice. Nope. Like, this makes so much sense for all three of us.
it
It
is,
just makes
yeah.
so much sense.
It does.
For me, I would just like to share, whoever you guys have tuned in, I would like to send a copy, like a free copy of the tuition toolbox. They can share it with their athletes or parents or whoever, coaches.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, we will definitely make sure we get for those who register for the webinar today. Have your contact information to get you get you the curriculum for sure. The wonderful work that you're doing, again, is valuable. We'll send a follow up note with an info. Jamie said. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. As we're closed. We reminded that a flame does not lose anything by sharing with another candle. It only makes the room brighter. So thank you all for being selfless. Flame Bearers works to ensure that women athletes are celebrated for who they are beyond the scoreboards, beyond the medal counts. And so together with Markeshia, Lakeisha, the work that you are doing, we celebrate you. The ground root, the ground, the grassroots works that you are putting and you're investing in our next generation. Really appreciate it. So the backcourt of 2012, we appreciate you guys again for giving back and being an example of what a scholar athlete is like on and off the floor. So into our audience, whether you're an athlete, parent, leader, coach, you are now part of this huddle, and we ask that you go and support these young women and the work that they're doing. Follow them on social, DM them. Wait, do they have permission to DM y'all?
Uh,
connect with them and the work that they're doing.
That's
By the
so
way, y'all,
funny.
Makisha's joking. This is her personality.
Her personality is she's full of dirt.
So, but yeah, definitely check out the latest on their social. Don't forget to follow the Flame Bears at flamebears.com and on social platforms and on Balling with Brett and all social platforms. And so, again, this is just the beginning. And thank you all for balling with me today. Until next time. Bye.